Hi, everyone. This is Megan,
And this is Steven.
and this is the Synchrony podcast where we talk about transforming apostolic dating culture and ending loneliness in the church.
Nailed it.
Yes, finally getting down this intro. This is exciting. Babe, what a week this has been.
I know.
It's been a really crazy ride. Do you want to talk about Monday?
Yeah, it was fantastic. So first off, Monday night we had our launch party.
Our launch party, we launched on April 1st with our new wide open matchmaking pipeline and all the cool stuff we've been putting together. So thanks to everyone who hung out with us for that. And yeah, the launch party was amazing.
Yeah, it was a lot of engagement.
Yeah.
And
Not actual engagements. Nobody got engaged on the launch party.
oh yeah,
But
not yet.
That would have been
Yet.
cool.
No, but Zoom meetings or sorry, Google Meet meetings, online meetings in general are just awkward sometimes. And I think you did a great job of making it feel like there was a lot of connection. And you can tell we had to like break through the ice a little bit at the beginning. But once you started polling questions and people could answer anonymously, people were starting to get deep pretty quickly. And it was really cool. And when we started asking those questions is when people started opening up more and making jokes and
yeah. Oh my gosh, we laughed so hard.
Yeah.
It was so cool to see people's personalities come out and to see people enjoying each other in
Yeah,
that
exactly.
call. What was your highlight? Like, what was your favorite moment?
The audio worked.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Soundman. Steven, I will say, you did pull off a masterful audio situation so that both of us could talk into mics and be in the same room and it not be confusing for people. That was pretty cool.
Thanks. It was fun.
Yeah.
This has been a fun learning process in that area. But launch party was fantastic. I can't really pinpoint. I honestly think just interacting, for me personally, interacting with the guys.
My favorite moment was we were, if you're listening, you know who you are and I appreciate you. We were talking about making the first move and how it's okay for women to indicate interest to someone, right? And one of our guys spoke up and was just like, please God, please make the first move. And it was awesome. Like the comedic timing was perfect.
Yeah.
I was like dying laughing and he was being like half serious, but it was just really great. He was just funny and everyone was laughing and it was just a really warm conversation. So
Yeah.
if you want to be involved in conversations like this, but you couldn't make the launch party, have no fear. We're going to keep doing this. We're hoping to do it on like a monthly cadence. I actually just put out a poll to our Synchrony community to find out when we can do our next one. So if you are not yet part of the Synchrony community, which is
didn't know about the last one.
Right. Which is the Synchrony community, for those of you who don't know, is our closed online forum just for vetted Synchrony singles that have already gone through a consultation. And that's where we're sharing our meetups and our courses and webinars and doing cool challenges and just hanging out with each other. So if you have already had a consultation and you are not part of the community, please do a quick search through your email inbox. And if you don't see something about that subscription, reach out to us so we can get you connected because it's been really fun so far. I'm just excited to see what comes from that.
Yeah, me too.
Awesome.
Now that we've done some of the housekeeping stuff, what are we talking about tonight, babe?
We're talking about something that I am nervous about talking about. Just laying the foundation there. I want to talk about the idea of the pursuit or the pursuer and why I think our ideas about what that means might be preventing people from connecting and forming great relationships.
Well, and the pursuee too, though.
Yeah, no,
I don't know if that's a word, but
it is now, I guess.
So it's not just the pursuer, but people who are expecting to be pursued.
Yeah, that's actually the problem that I'm planning to talk about more. But
okay.
Yeah, so Okay.
All the above.
Yeah. So we've talked before about how we have more women than we have men in the project, right? I've spent a lot of time, getting close to 150 hours talking to apostolic women about what they want with a dating partner, right? And overall, I want to say this first. I think women are very practical. Like, I don't really get a lot of women who want extraordinarily unrealistic things from their relationships.
Yeah.
Right. Most of these women are, they're looking for the basics. They're looking for a godly man who wants the same kind of household that they want.
Who could talk about their emotions.
Yeah. Yeah. Emotional literacy is a big one. But the other thing that I hear quite often is, I don't want to be the pursuer. I want to be pursued.
Yeah.
And I think that's very much a part of our culture in church, right? Almost to the point where I think we spiritualize it.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Like it's doctrine that the man is the pursuer and the woman is the pursued. And let me preface this and say, I don't disagree that it's important for a man to demonstrate leadership in a relationship.
Yeah.
And in a Christian relationship, I think especially because we have, we signed up to be married according to God's plan, and God's plan has a leadership structure where we have the husband stepping into that leadership role, taking on that leadership mantle. Doesn't mean that he's there to control or remove autonomy, but he's shouldering the burden of that headship, right?
Yeah.
For his family. And it is great as a woman who's single, I think, to be able to see the indicators of that positive leadership in someone when you start dating.
Yeah.
But
wow.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I think that we've made pursuit into this unrealistic set of behaviors that our men are not equipped to undertake, and I don't honestly know that they should undertake it in the way that some women are expecting them to.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a scenario that I'm going to paint for you, right?
Paint it.
We've talked about how we have been, we sort of expect men to be the ones to initiate dating interactions, right?
Yeah.
Let's say for a minute that you are a single young man and you're at a conference, okay?
Okay.
Across the room, you see a younger, slightly less sleep deprived and more attractive version of myself, right? Sitting there, also single.
Okay.
Okay. I am staring straight ahead toward the platform, the pulpit, or whatever. I make no eye contact with you. I look perfectly comfortable and content by myself, right? Maybe I have a friend or two around me that I'm like lightly conversing with, paying you absolutely no attention. Do you think that you would be able to just walk up to me and start a conversation?
You are talking about me.
Yeah, I know. You're the extrovert. Let me ask this. Would you hesitate to just walk up? I remember, I don't know you at all. We've never met.
Yeah.
Would you feel any hesitation about just walking up and starting a conversation?
If I didn't have some visual indicators, probably I would be hesitant.
What do you mean visual indicators? Define that for me.
I mean, like, it depends on how old are we in this scenario?
I don't know. We're 20 somethings.
Okay.
Single 20 somethings. I'm paying you no attention.
This is really boiled down to my level of self-confidence.
Okay.
I know. I know I'm too in my head about it.
Yeah, I'm not asking about you for you necessarily.
You did. You said you in the scenario.
I'm trying to position you as an average man. Just be an average man for a minute and not a golden retriever man who's never met a stranger. You're a bad example. Okay. Everyone.
No, but I think where I was going is true, because if I have a high level or a moderate level of self-confidence that hasn't been burned repeatedly, I think I would take the chance.
But it would feel like a chance, like a risk.
I mean, talking to any girl at a conference is a risk.
Okay. Why?
Because fear of rejection.
Right. Because the worst case scenario is that she like rolls her eyes at you
Yeah, and
or
blows you off, and yeah,
and you're left just standing there with your,
tail tucked between your legs.
right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, there's always that risk, and again, if you're confident, you say, well, it's didn't work out, not a big deal. Let's keep on going.
Sure.
But if you already struggle with low self confidence and you really built yourself up to do that,
Mm-hmm.
then that rejection or that interaction that went negatively is now negative reinforcement.
Right. So what I wanted to kind of get out of that was
Sorry.
it's okay. We got there. We made it. The position that we put men in to initiate is asking them to undertake a risk.
Yeah.
Right. Is asking them to step out in vulnerability and offer something not knowing if it's going to be accepted. Right. I think we talked about on, maybe we didn't talk about it on the podcast, the book I was reading about human interaction and attraction and how dating interactions are started, said that in the vast majority of cultures that have been studied, whose dating patterns have been studied, even if the cultural expectation is that the man initiates, most men will not initiate an interaction until they receive a signal from the woman that they're interested in. And that signal could be eye contact, it could be a smile, it could be, if it's appropriate, a lightly placed hand on a shoulder or something, but it's some kind of indicator with their voice or their eyes or their gestures that man's approach is welcome. Looking at a woman and seeing her smile at you and indicate interest,
Yeah.
I can understand why a God-fearing man would want to wait for that before making an approach.
Right? Yeah. I realized something I didn't add was pre-existing knowledge of their relationship status. Mm. Because if you're at a conference where it's mixed, it's not strictly for singles, then you're not going to take that chance if you don't know that if that person's single or not.
Right. So they could have a boyfriend on the platform or in the crowd or something.
Or a husband.
Right.
And that church doesn't wear rings.
And then you're that guy who's made a move on a married woman.
Yeah. So that definitely plays a factor too. Mm-hmm. Especially if you're talking about in your 20s.
Right. So initiating a dating interaction is risky.
Or 30s.
Yeah, any age. Initiating a dating interaction is risky, right? And I don't think it's a problem that we expect men to step into that vulnerability and do that. I think that shows some bravery, and that's a great thing to kind of demonstrate. But we're already expecting men to take that risk, right? What if after that, the woman in this hypothetical scenario expected the man to push every stage of the relationship forward with no indication from her about whether or not that was what she wanted? Right?
Yeah.
And what I mean is, like, I've heard women say, well, we've been texting and I would really love to do a FaceTime call, but I don't want to be the one to ask for that. Yeah. I want him to pursue me.
Yeah.
Right? Or
I want him to make that next level of engagement.
Or I really want to see, I really want us to go out on an actual date in person instead of just talking. I don't want to be the one to suggest that. I want him to pursue me.
Which, by the way, y'all, this is proving to be a more common trend.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing it repeated after we get into this sort of talking phase, right? Because there's this, there's a phase.
It's like, it becomes a waiting pattern where you're just like waiting for him to come rescue you when you could also try to make an effort as well.
Well, and it's not to say that I don't think these women aren't making an effort or aren't invested, but they think that the effort should be keep the conversation flowing, and then he's eventually going to move it forward, right?
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, okay, I basically, I think we've trained women to think that expressing any kind of initiative in a relationship is unwomanly.
Yeah, not feminine.
Right. And it's stepping into the wrong role. And I don't think that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. See, what's funny, if this were me in that scenario and I didn't see, if during that relationship I had found out that you had been waiting for me for months to do something.
Yeah.
or weeks and you didn't communicate that with me, that would immediately be a turnoff to me. Because now I'm seeing that you don't have good communication skills.
Right.
And that's me personally. I really value communication. So I can't read your mind. So please tell me what you're thinking.
Right.
If I'm not reading
I don't
it.
think any men can read minds.
Well, if you ask our daughter, they should.
Yeah, our 4-year-old is like,
I can read minds.
yeah, she's decided that she can read minds, which is what gives her permission to boss her friends around, because it's what they secretly want, you see.
Yeah.
She has we say that she has very high executive functioning skills. She's going to be everyone's boss one day. Just watch out. Yeah, so here's where I think this messes us up, right? And what we're doing, so we host these initial conversations between two people.
Yeah.
And we know that they're matched on a values level. And we tell them at the beginning, listen, you're probably not going to feel a crazy spark when you get on the call with this person, because it's a video call introduction, right?
Yeah.
We're not here to fall madly in love over the next 45 minutes. What we're here to do is learn about each other and see if there's curiosity to know more. And we set that as the expectation.
Yep, that's it.
Right. And so sometimes afterwards, people will be like, yeah, this person was really interesting and I do want to get to know them more. But then they're going to enter this really critical phase of exploration where over the course of probably anywhere from a few days to a couple of weeks, they're going to learn more about that other person and use that to make a decision about whether or not that person is an actual dating prospect or not. Right. And oftentimes I'm checking in a little bit with these people and seeing, you know, how they're doing and if they have any questions, if they need anything. And this is where I start to see the scramble.
Yeah.
Where women will go, well, I just feel like he's not moving this forward. I feel like he's not expressing enough interest and I want him to be pursuing me, right? And I try to put myself in the shoes of this young man, or this not so young man, this man, depending on who we're talking about, who has this burden of expectation placed on him. He doesn't know this girl any better than she knows him.
Yeah.
Right? They do not know each other. They know each other equal amounts, which is not very much. And yet he is being expected to say, hey, I really like you and I want to move this forward, in order for her to feel like she can move forward as well.
Yeah.
And I just see people getting stuck. And it's like our expectations for what this man is supposed to do are maybe a little bit too high here, where she might be expecting him to make a kind of grandiose gesture of, wow, I really find you fascinating. I'd love to have a phone call with you, or I really would love to take you out on a date. And he might not be ready for that any more than she would be in the same scenario.
Yeah. Can we flip the story a little bit though?
Yeah.
Let's talk about it from the guy's perspective in that situation.
Yeah, hit me.
So that's very mixed signals from what society has kind of trained men recently. So if you're not pursuing enough or fast enough or aggressive meaning like forward enough, then that is a bad sign.
Right.
So let's flip it and say, I'm going to be that forward person, but to someone who is not emotionally ready to have someone that forward. Now I just look creepy or overimposing.
Right. Just a little bit too fast, right? It can
feel... well, that can also be I don't know if I should be using the word turn off, but that could also be a sign of like, this person's trying to move too quickly. I want to get to know them better.
Right. I'm not ready for that.
Yeah. And so again, going back to communication, like it takes two to tango. Like you need to be able to both have this conversation.
Right. Because as you know, like if I as a woman can't say to you, hey, I think this conversation's really interesting, but I feel like it would be really valuable for us to actually get to talk where we could see each other's expressions.
Yeah.
Would you mind if we did a FaceTime call, right? Or, hey, I know we've been using Messenger to talk. That's great, but I communicate better over a call compared to in writing. Can we try a call? if I don't feel safe saying that to you,
Yeah.
how am I going to be safe asking for what I need once we're in a relationship? Right.
100%.
So I want to kind of break this down. You know, I don't want women to hear this and feel like I'm attacking them or saying that women aren't trying hard enough or that they are putting their expectations too high. But I just want to challenge them to say, if you are waiting on the person that you're talking to give you a signal, you need to be asking yourself if in their shoes you could do the same, right? If the roles were reversed and you were a man who had just met you
Yeah.
for the first time and was still getting to know you, maybe wasn't sure yet if there was enough attraction there, maybe not sure yet if there's enough alignment, not having asked all the right questions or having all the answers yet as to whether or not this is a person that they could see themselves with. If that were you, would you be willing to move it forward, or would you be more cautious,
Yeah.
right? Because the dating scenario that we're describing with Synchrony, I think we have to just lay it out there and say it's not normal.
Oh, absolutely not.
And it's not likely to be a situation where someone just gets swept off their feet and caught up in the moment. And as soon as he gets on the video call with you, he's like, "You are the most beautiful woman I've ever met." And
Which, again, is creepy.
yeah, right? I mean, how intense would that be?
Yeah. Like, all right, see ya. Nice meeting you. Bye.
Right. Starts reading poetry. Um, so it's a real catch-22 where, like you said, if he moves too fast, it's not okay. If he moves too slowly, it's not okay. So he just has to guess. He has to just psychically guess the exact right moment to suggest a new phase of the connection. And I
Yeah.
think that's too much to ask.
It is. And so this is not even taking the guy's emotion into account.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is all, and I'm saying this is all from the perspective of trying to predict the level of forwardness
Mm-hmm.
is expected of the guy, not even including them trying to process meeting someone brand new,
Right.
seeing if they're attracted, seeing if they want to get to know them better, all the above. So it's basically just boils down to what you just said. Can you put yourself in their shoes?
Right. And men, I'm not letting men off the hook
No,
here.
absolutely
Like,
not.
if you're not being clear about your intentions and your emotions, you got to talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
She can't guess either. And you might think she's amazing, but if she's not hearing those words and you're not telling her overtly that you're interested, as a woman, remember, we've been trained on these really grandiose, romantic kinds of forms of media, right?
Yeah.
We're not expecting you to be Prince Charming, but we are expecting words.
Yeah.
Like spoken words.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is this is a type of dating that is different than typical dating, because what happens is you're talking to people who have been vetted by someone, and they're saying, I want to find someone who is serious about a relationship. Whereas if you meet someone, and I keep on saying the wild, if you meet someone in the wild,
in their natural
habitat. Yeah, in their natural habitat of the altar, you don't know where they are emotionally in terms of moving forward with a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're meeting someone in a matchmaking situation, you know that you want to be serious about a relationship.
Yeah, there's nothing to hide.
There's nothing to hide, exactly. So on the guy and the girl side, like, be honest with where you are in your mind.
Yeah.
And like, your information's private unless you give them information. So
Right.
like, try to be vulnerable with these people.
And if not vulnerable, straightforward.
That's what I mean. Sorry.
Because if I were to get dumped back onto Singles Island tomorrow and I had to work through the dating space again, I would much rather have someone tell me, I really think that there's a lot that's interesting about you, but I have a couple of concerns that we haven't discussed yet. Can we talk about them?
Action items.
Oh,
I love it.
yeah. Than to just like wait to see if they start to act like they like me more. Like,
Yeah.
ain't nobody got time for that. Like, I got a life to live. You know what I mean?
Well, and so you know how I've heard the saying, like, knowing is half the battle,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
There's nothing that drives me nuts more than when someone's mad at me and I don't know why. Like, you've seen me fall apart when I think you're mad at me about something, and I know you're not, like, you're too tired to be able to put into words because the kids are driving you nuts or something's happening and you haven't slept in 3 days. And, like, I know now is not the time to talk about it, but the time in between us, like, getting frustrated with each other, or me knowing I'm in the doghouse and us actually talking, I'm eating myself alive.
Forget the kids. It was like our first year of marriage. It took you a very long time to figure out the difference between me being mad at you and me just being hungry. Like,
that's true. Touche. You know? But that being said, knowing's half the battle in these relationships. If you see something that you would like to know more about this person, expecting them to just start telling you without you asking them about it, or saying, hey, I heard this and that's kind of concerning because of my past relationship. Can we talk about this?
Right. Tell them what they're not giving you.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I haven't heard you mention your family at all. And it's really important for me to know what your relationship is like with your family.
Yes.
Let's talk about them. Like, point out what you're not getting that you need in order to make your decision. I want to talk about how we spiritualize this concept of pursuit. And once again, you and I are not theologians.
Nope.
We're not here to tell anybody how to read their Bible.
Definitely not.
No. So I want everyone to hear this part first. For what I'm about to say, if you disagree with me or if you feel something rise up in your spirit about it, I want you to take it to your pastor, and ultimately what they say is probably
or write
what
us
you
an
should
email.
do.
We'll talk about it.
Both. Let's do both.
Yeah.
But I'm going to just put something out there, which is that when I read my Bible, I don't see many examples of men being the type of pursuers that women are expecting them to be now. And
True.
I do see some very overt examples of women stepping into that role. And this is not me telling women that you need to go start laying out pickup lines and asking for numbers, right? Although
that would be awesome.
Although based on Facebook, there are some women with some excellent pickup lines. There's been some really great singles threads going lately with some of the folks that are involved in singles ministry throwing out biblical pickup lines, and I have been rolling reading them. So, ladies, you got game. Not saying you have to go out there and like start, asking everybody out. But I want to challenge you by suggesting that I don't think there is Bible to say that men must be the ones to move everything forward in the relationship.
Nope.
And I have 2 examples.
Okay.
And they're the same examples I used when we were talking about matchmaking. So we're going to go back to them. We'll probably, there aren't that many examples of dating relationships in Scripture.
No.
Because people in Scripture did not date the way we date today, right?
Yeah.
So we have to differentiate a little bit. This was a patrilineal, patrilocal, tribal society, right?
Yeah.
And the way that they did marriage was based on strategy, right? Marriage was a strategic combination of families. It was not primarily about love, although we do see couples who fall in love, right? But we don't see a lot of courtship or dating because that wasn't how it was done then, right? You talk to someone's father, your father talked to her father, and then they're like, yep, this makes sense. Have some goats, have some cows, let's throw a party, you're married, right?
Yes.
And that's because marriage at the time was a collective thing versus an individual thing like it is now. But babe, did you know, fascinating, did you know that that kind of strategic marriage where it was about pairing families and pooling resources was still the most common reason for people to get married until just about 200 years ago in the United States?
I didn't realize it was that recent.
Yeah. So I was reading this article and it cited this book. So the book is called The Wife, I think, and I haven't read this, full disclosure, the whole book, but I'm going to go get it and dive into it. But the author, I believe, is a historian, and she posits that Americans saw a shift from strategic marriage to love marriage sometime in between the American Revolution and 1830. So in 1830, potentially, it was still more common for people to marry because it made sense for their families and money and everything else than it was for them to fall in love. So we don't have to get into like American, marriage tradition, but basically the takeaway is that the marriage that we saw in the Bible and for most of our cultural history has not been about falling in love the way it is today.
Yeah.
So we don't have great examples in scripture of people dating because it wasn't up to the individuals to find someone and fall in love with them as an individual and decide that they were the right person for them, right?
Yeah.
It was a collective pursuit. So the two couples that we really see in the period of their pre-marriage are Isaac and Rebekah and Ruth and Boaz, right?
Yeah.
We also see a little bit of Mary and Joseph, but not a whole lot. And theirs is complicated because of the whole Immaculate Conception thing.
We didn't really see them find each other.
No. There's a couple of other examples, but I think when you think about biblical sort of love stories, quote unquote, these are the two that come to mind, right?
Yeah.
And in both of them, I'm going to posit to you that the man was less of the pursuer than the woman. So let's start with the Ruth and Boaz example. Okay.
Yep.
Ruth is a widow. She is looking for places where she can work in the fields for some pay and food. And she goes into the field where Boaz's fields, and he notices her and he's kind to her. It doesn't say that he notices her and likes her.
Yeah.
Or that he notices her and thinks she's gorgeous. He hears that she is the widowed wife of one of his kinsmen, and he shows her kindness, right? He allows her to have extra food. He invites her to eat with his workers. He is kind to her. He sends her home with extra food. Ruth is the one who takes their relationship to the next level.
He's like, listen here, girl. Spill the tea.
Yeah. So let's just say this because I'm not going to open up the Bible and read this portion. We don't exactly know culturally what she did that made him realize like, oh, this girl's into me, right? Like it explains it in the Bible. It doesn't translate well into our modern day of like what the actions she took were. But basically, homegirl showed up at his campsite and like very clearly propositioned marriage.
Yeah.
Right? Again, the details are complicated. And Boaz, when he sees this, he's not like, ew, like that's supposed to be my job. No, he's like, oh, bless you for seeking me out. You could have gone for a younger, more handsome man. I'm so honored and flattered. I need to take care of some business with our family first. I need to make sure that this is appropriate. But I'm grateful to you. Here's some extra food. He is excited by this. He's not repulsed by any stretch, right? So in this example, Ruth, who is of the two socially and in every other way disenfranchised, right?
Yeah.
She's a foreigner. She's poor. She's a widow. She is not, of the same sort of social strata as Boaz. And she comes to him and indicates her interest, and he's excited by this and motivated by that, right?
Yep.
So that's one example where homegirl asks for what she needs and she gets it. And great things happen as a result of their partnership, right?
The line of Jesus.
The line of Jesus. Great things, like I said. The other one that we like to point to is Isaac and Rebekah. Isaac was not involved at all in his
at all
except
for the marriage part.
Yeah, but and this is common for the time, right? Abraham, Isaac's father, is the one really orchestrating this marriage. So again, that doesn't really translate well to how we do things today. But what we see is that Rebekah is the one to volunteer to go with Eliezer, the servant of Abraham, when he asks, hey, will you come back with me? She doesn't hesitate. She says, yeah, I'll go. And the Bible says, and I think this is really beautiful, the Bible says that as the caravan was coming, she lifts up her eyes and sees Isaac afar off. And she asks, who is this man? It says that Isaac was meditating. So we envision him in the morning praying, right? And he's looking out over and he sees the caravan coming. And she lifts up her eyes and says, who is this man walking? And Eliezer says, that is my master's son, Isaac. And the Bible says, and I think this is so pretty, she alights down, she leaps down from her camel, she veils herself, and she runs to Isaac. And knowing what I know about having studied modesty in biblical culture, right?
Yeah.
This is how I read this. And again, this isn't necessarily doctrine, so I don't want anyone to like take this and run back. But in a lot of cultures of, in sort of this Fertile Crescent, Middle Eastern space at the time, the act of veiling was about being presentable. It was about being feminine, but it also had to do with authority and the relationship between women and the male heads of household that they were with, right? A veiled woman, a woman who wore a veil in public, who hid her body and her femininity from the eyes of other men, belonged to someone. So a veiled woman signaled to the rest of the world that she was under the protection of a man, whether that be her father or her brother or her husband or her uncle. To be veiled meant that you weren't available for public consumption, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think that the Bible calls this out specifically because it was just about how she got dressed, right?
Sure.
She sees him afar off. She puts on a veil and she runs to him. And I think that's her saying, I am yours. I take my veil to symbolize that I'm coming under your authority. I'm presenting myself as your wife. Homegirl left no room for argument, right?
Yeah.
She said, she's like, I just journeyed across a desert.
Yeah.
I'm here. We're getting married. And
you can't take no for an answer.
Right. And it's beautiful. I mean, like, read that as you will, but that's kind of how it speaks to me, right? Boiling all this down, ladies, I don't want you to hear that you need to become more aggressive.
No.
I don't want you to hear that you need to become bossy or that you need to take on the burden of running your relationship, right? Because a lot of women feel like, especially if they are a parent or if they are a professional, that they're already shouldering quite a lot of the social burden of their home, their household, right? And they want to be able just to relax in their romantic relationships and not have to be the one driving things forward. And I hear that. So ladies, this isn't me telling you that you have to take charge of this whole thing and drive it. This is me encouraging you to ask for what you want very, very clearly.
Yep.
As a guy, what's your response to, the idea of a woman just saying the things that she needs in a relationship? Like, what does that make you feel as a man? Does it diminish your sense of masculinity or headship, I guess?
No. If anything, it gives me more ability to fulfill those things for you. Again, I could be spending all the time in the world trying to predict what you need, or you could just tell me and I do those things. Now, I'm not saying there's not a level of like romance and like prediction of like her wants. That's different.
Once you know me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But in terms of getting to know someone and wanting to find out more information about this person and getting to know you, or you getting to know me, because I've lived a whole life and I can't think of all the things I need to tell you or what you want to know.
Right.
Ask me. Like, there's a reason why on our dates, we had like that one date in Jupiter where we walked around for like 7-8 hours.
Yeah, it was a lot.
And it was a lot. I'm not saying you have to do that, but that's what that time for us was literally going, hey, what's your family history? Like, hey, how was your, past relationships? Like, we were doing that on that date.
Yeah.
And I had a blast. But we were very clear with each other. And I wasn't intimidated when you asked me hard questions because I found that attractive.
Right. Yeah, I think if a man is intimidated by you asking hard questions, that might be a sign that he's not ready to go into a partnership where hard questions are going to be normal. Like,
yeah. But to the men, I want to make sure you hear that we're not telling you to be more assertive or less assertive or more direct or less direct. Just be intentional
And honest.
And let some walls down.
Mm.
Because I think at the end of the day, the root of the whole beginning of this conversation of talking about wanting that person to pursue is really saying, I want this person to feel, I want to feel connected.
Yeah.
And if you let some walls down, be honest, clear communication, and again, ask hard questions.
Mm-hmm.
We're not saying ask mean questions. We're saying ask good, hard questions about getting to know this person. Because at the end of the day, you're being matched with someone who is wanting to have a serious relationship. And hello, like the goal of these dating relationships is for marriage.
Yeah. And
Like this isn't just for like wasting time.
No, I was going to say, if they're not the right person, better to find that out quickly.
Yeah.
For both of you, so that you can say, hey, this has been great. I don't see it going anywhere. I've enjoyed getting to know you. Let's go find someone who's better for us.
Yeah.
Right? And that's okay. Like, I want to encourage people to be upfront with what they want and need, because ultimately you're supporting each other by doing that and finding the right partner and being upfront about how it's going. Right.
Yeah.
So I hope this doesn't come across as...
I don't want it to come across as judgmental.
Not at all. I think everyone's trying to figure out a very complicated space.
Yeah. And this is new.
Mm.
And I think what we're seeing and why the reason why we're passionate about it is because we're seeing people smash their head against walls.
Right.
About expectations that are so unrealistic.
Right. And we want to walk with you, we focus a lot on the matching portion.
Yeah.
Right. Getting people into the same room who want the same things. And that's really important. But we want to walk with you through the next part too, which is going through that period of discernment with them to figure out if they're the right person for you. And there's no way to do that without being really communicative.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to feel like a fairy tale. It's not going to feel like you're getting swept off your feet, probably. That's just not realistic for the kind of medium we're talking about, right?
Mm-mm.
So the alternative to that is be honest and find that connection based in the information that you learn about each other.
Yeah.
And ultimately, ask if you have questions, if you need help, if you're not sure what to do next. We're happy to be a source of support.
Yeah. But like our help doesn't stop the moment you find someone.
Yeah.
Reach out to us, DM us on Instagram. Eventually, I would like to have some sort of like non-personal cell phone, so that way we can have a relationship that has easier communication than email. Sometimes email isn't always as easy, but reach out to us, talk to us, ask us questions, and if you're getting stumped in an area that maybe in the past you have asked these hard questions and been burned, come talk to us. We'll see what we can figure out.
Yeah. Give each other room to be honest.
Yeah.
Anything else we need to talk about, babe? I feel like we circled around that one quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, all of our other topics have kind of been like 7 topics in one. So it's kind of nice for it to just be one
nice and
relative topic.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think that's it.
If you do have questions that you think are great for a more general audience, please feel free to send them to us at questions@synchronyproject.com. That's specifically for things about, the podcast that you think you might want to have answered on here. If you need just support, if you're trying to figure out how to log into your community membership or you're not sure how to get to it, you can email us at thesynchronyproject@gmail.com and that will get to us faster. But if you've got questions for the podcast, questions@synchronyproject.com is a great place to start. And if you have already had a consultation and you're not taking advantage of the Synchrony community, please reach out if you're not sure how to, because we're having so much fun there. And I think it's going to be a great way for people to connect.
And we're going to have courses coming out soon, free courses only for people in the community.
Yeah, I'm pumped about that.
Do you want to tell them about the event in Jacksonville?
Yeah. So if you are a listener in Florida and you are part of the Hyphen Ministry,
or Georgia.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, it is a Florida district thing. But...
Whatever. Come over. It's just over the border.
That's fair. So Hyphen, if you're not familiar, is the UPCI sort of young adult ministry. And
I think it's like 18 to 32 or something like that.
Something like that. The Florida District Hyphen is hosting a rally in Jacksonville, Florida on Friday, May the 3rd.
At the Olson's Church.
Yep. And we are going to be there. So we're
We'll
not
have a
preaching or
booth.
anything. That's not our speed. But we're going to be making some cool stuff available. We're going to have a booth. We're going to be doing some fun icebreaker activities. And we're going to hang out for the whole service and after party.
Yep. We're hanging out.
There's Chipotle coming.
That sounds right up your alley.
It is. Yeah. I love Chipotle. Steven's not much of a Chipotle
I'm more of a Moe's guy because I like the free salsa.
Yeah, I like Chipotle. Anyway, so we'll be there, and also Chipotle, and also Jesus.
That's right.
So if you are in Florida and you want to come hang out, we'd love to see you and just talk to you and answer your questions. It'd be really fun.
All right.
Hey, babe.
Huh?
I love you.
I love you.
Thank you for becoming a semi-professional sound engineer in order to make our podcast possible.
I don't know if I can wear that hat, but you're welcome for making a relatively acceptable sound podcast.
You've learned a lot. You've amassed a massive quantity of information about how to do this in a very short amount of time. I'm very impressed.
To all the sound people out there, I'm so sorry for the first 6 episodes.
Now everyone's going to go back and listen to them again just to see.
Oh, darn.
Yeah, I know.
Don't you dare go back and watch all of them all over again.
Anyway, I appreciate you for all of your expertise.
You're welcome.
Okay.
It's been fun. Like, comment, subscribe.
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Talk to you soon.
Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.